Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack, or as it may soon be known, the Clerks animated series Watch Along Attack. I am your host, Jamie Williams, also known as the Vet. This is my tag team partner, Brandon, who is also the host, and I tag the host and the internet and make the tag. Brandon's here. The V and the B have made the connection, and that also starts with a C, which includes the chat, which is also here, but they're filing in slowly from the Raw watch along, in which I tried to pop in at the very end. Can you believe that, Brandon? Can you believe that Big Bronson Reed had the nerve to just fat guy attack Seth Rollins at the end of that heated segment there?
I'll give him credit. I didn't see that coming. I mean, I know we had the thing of, Bronson threatening to do something. I wasn't expecting that.
Yep. You didn't see it coming because they had the camera narrowly focused on Seth Rollins the whole time. Everybody else in the arena saw that coming for like probably 45 seconds to a minute. It's the magic of television, man. So yeah, Raw's going on. Who do we got? We got at least a couple of people here, right? Like,
yes, so we got a lab rat with us. We got Liz, but I'm sure more will be coming over here.
Yeah, there's more.
The whole L's. Gang's in the house tonight. Whoop whoop.
Double L, Lab Rat and Liz. That's a good tandem right there. They've been known to partner up on the indies from time to time, so we're just we're a little bit early too. I mean, we just went live because we're like, hey, why should we just sit around? Let's get rocking and rolling. And then,
speaking of double letters, see the double A return on SummerSlam?
Oh, I did. I saw his. God, can we talk about this for a second? Let's just go ahead and talk about it. SummerSlam happened. That's really the only news. I didn't see any new news. It was everything is going to be related to SummerSlam one way or the other, right? Am I correct in assuming that we don't really have any other news to talk about in wrestling?
I mean, yeah, not really a whole lot. I mean, unless you want to get into, Jake Paul's social media, Jake Paul's social media stuff. Logan Paul. Sorry, Logan Paul's. I get those two mixed up. I don't know why.
Yeah, probably because they're twin brothers or whatever. But like, the Logan's the wrestling one.
But the thing is, how much of that is him leaning into his heel character?
Yeah, it's impossible to tell. It occurred to me, like, as he come out in Cleveland, with his Cleveland Browns inspired gear, I thought, did this, like, I remembered back to when he was first joining the WWE, right? And I was thinking, like, do I remember correctly, or did he not publicly say somewhere, like, that he wanted to be a babyface or something like that? Like, he thought this would be his avenue towards getting people to like him more, like that kind of a thing. I feel like I remember that. I could be misremembering that, but I thought I read that somewhere.
It's very possible. I personally have not read that, but I can definitely see that.
Well, how long has he been there now? Like 2 years, it feels like. Time's just flying by. I can't even tell anymore.
Yeah, somewhere between 2 and 3 years.
So clearly that didn't work, and it was never going to happen that way. I think that, but like it just really hit home because, he's from Cleveland, and when he walked out, like, the crowd was not behind him, like, at all, not in any audible way that you can hear. So it was just kind of funny, like, I had the way he came out, the way he made his entrance, it almost felt like he expected, like, some kind of like a positive reception of, in some fashion. And then he just awkwardly stood there while everybody was either silent or booed. Liz says, Cleveland doesn't like him. He's always saying, I'm not from Cleveland. It's poor and decrepit. He always makes sure to say he's from Westlake. Yeah. Well, no place in Ohio is someplace to be proud of. Sorry, Liz. It's okay. You don't have to take offense to that. We all live somewhere.
Yeah, so that just kind of struck me as really weird because it's like 'cause I live in like the St. Louis metro regional area, and from like the richest areas to the poorest areas, we're from St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Um, but anyway, yeah. So, but back to let's go back to Cody. Uh,
Get me Pharaoh, pal.
right. This entrance that he did. Okay, this is exactly the kind of shit that got him booed in AEW. This is how this shit starts. It's flying too close to the sun with this kind of stuff. Like this long ass bus walk that nobody needed to see. This took like 5 minutes for this guy to eat before he makes his 5 minute entrance. This is like his theme song having a theme song. Remember in AEW where he had the song for him just to rise up out of the ground, and then he had the song for him to walk to the ring. It was like it was reminiscent of that.
The only thing I can think of is like this is a 7-match card they had to stretch into 4 hours.
Yeah, no, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
That's what it was. It was like the whole thing was stretching, and then Triple H at the press conference saying, if we would have put stuff in, then we would have been an 8-hour show. No, it wouldn't. Cody Rhodes' entrance was 8 hours. You could have cut that down.
Dude, during the watch along, I think it was Lab Rat who made the joke of like, okay, the entrances are going to be 20 minutes. And he's like, shit, Cody's by himself was 20 minutes.
Yeah. So he comes out the bus with the dog, walks around, walks past people, getting dressed, making sure everybody could see his mother-in-law, like all this stuff. Arn Anderson just randomly standing around hoping. What if Cody didn't walk that way? Arn, Cody's gonna walk this way, so if you want to interrupt him on his way to the ring, wait right here. Like all this shit. Then he rambles on about a bunch of stuff. You can clearly tell that wasn't written. And then Cody continues to go. Then he picks up this is my favorite part. Like I'd already had enough. Then he puts on the mask, right? And then he comes out. Okay, so you can't really see the mask when he puts it on. He comes on. He puts the mask on, so you see it from behind. It's got the wings, right? He walks through the curtain, and then we see him. And to quote Deflator Mouse from the episode of The Tick, season 2, Alone Together, where they make a statue of the Tick when they think he's dead, to quote Deflator Mouse, the head is way too big. That skull was comically big for what it looked stupid. It looked like he put a big head coat and NBA Jam on when he came out with that thing. So he's just standing there looking stupid to wear this thing for like a grand total of like, 1/20th of the length of his entrance. And it's just so embarrassing. And then he just takes it off and leaves it. Oh my God, this whole thing. This is how you make a heel, because he's not like in storyline, but because you're biting off way more than you could chew with all this. Forget everything I said about making fun of everything that happened. What you're doing with this, and you did it earlier with LA Knight and a couple of other things. When you see this backstage stuff, this is cool, but this is cool if you're doing like a B-roll for the eventual making of SummerSlam documentary that we can watch this, or if this is a bonus feature, if you're going to release this on a Blu-ray, which they don't do anymore. But if you were going to do that, it would be cool to see these versions of the alternate cuts, right? But here's the thing. The whole thing is when you go to the live events, you want to see the people in person. You want to be there in the building with them, and you want to see them, right? When you see them for 10 minutes before you actually see them, you're taking away from the pop that they come through the curtain or the elaborate stage setup or whatever they come through, that the crowd sees them for the first time. Hey, we're now all in the same room together. We got the energy. We get to sing the songs. We do all that. we had enough time to get tired of Cody Rhodes before he even walked through the entrance. So that's the danger of doing stuff like that. And the same thing, like we want that, we want that glass break moment where we all come up, but it's like, how long can you keep cheering before the guy walks through the curtain? You're asking people to sustain this for way too long, I think. So, you know, and then when you got that going on, and then you contrast that with, like, you know, Roman Reigns showing up, you know, just dressed in street clothes, like, to do a run-in with his full music and everything. And then you're gonna have Michael Cole be surprised like he didn't see him, like during the day. He's here. Like, yeah, of course he's here. Everybody should have known he was here. Everybody should have expected him to be here. It's, if he's not gonna run through the crowd and slide in the ring and spear somebody, then you have no right to be surprised. Just shit like that. It's like the complete contrast of what they're doing is I think it takes away from the spectacle that they're trying to create, actually. But what do you think about that?
It's just too much. They're taking away. They're just doing too much, and they're taking away from the spectacle, like you said.
Well, yeah. I mean, what can you do? But what do we know? They obviously broke all kinds of records, and you know, uh, they'll just continue to do that, and then pretty soon, before we know it, it's going to be 2 nights of this. Um, so
Yeah, Sonic brings up a good point. Like, I feel it's been kind of feeling like Cody's kind of leaning more into the heelish side of his character a little bit.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they would. I don't know why he would. He should have learned. Um, he should have learned from his AEW lessons. But I think that he's been doing a good job. But I think other people need to check some of this stuff. That's just the thing. This is because the heel turn may come one day, but right now it's just not the time. So let's not give anybody any reason. Let's try to maintain this as long as we can, and get everything out of it before we try to do something, you know, uh rash.
You know, when it hits its peak and then starts to do that downturn, I think that's the sweet spot.
Yep. Or maybe you never do it. John Cena never did it. And it was a great point that he made when I remember hearing Cody talk about this, which I was very proud of. I was very proud of John Cena for recognizing this, but he still could have done stuff. Um, he still could have done stuff that, like, wasn't as corny as he was as a babyface. But he said, if they don't turn him heel, it's like, if people don't like me, then I'm already a heel to you. So you don't need to turn me. Like, if you don't like me for being who I am, or as a baby face or whatever, then to you I am a heel. So why do I need to turn? Which is a great point. So I was glad that he was mature enough to recognize that. But we also don't need to, counterpoint to John Cena. We also didn't need to turn you into a pandering wiener that that cuts promos with the intellectual level of, like, Nickelodeon daytime television, and that level of family friendliness. We didn't have to go that far away from being a heel. We could have found a nice middle ground to get, grown adults to stop booing you. But,
Yeah, I think
fair.
Cena really could have ran with that duality of, you have that portion of the audience who hates him, the portion of the audience who loves him, but at the end of the day, they're all going to pay to see him.
Right. And that's fine. So I don't know. But I think Cody's doing fine. It's just we could cut down on these entrances, right? And make sure that the skull mask that you make sure the skull is the size of your skull, and not, like, the Elephant Man's skull. Uh, so that was SummerSlam. I mean, did you have any other overall thoughts on the SummerSlam show? I don't know how much if you ever went back and watched the first part of it that you missed. But
Oh man, I thought from a storyline perspective, like it furthered stories, but you could have done that on the TV.
mm,
But but also in a weird way, at the same time, these were kind of like major like story developments that where you really should have paid to see the payoff to.
well, some things were. Well, I guess let's if you look at it,
Like I would in my opinion, I would say like having Cody and Solo, that's more of a TV main event, and then that's when you bring Roman back, not a pay-per-view main event.
Are you saying that just because of Solo, like his sort of stature as far as like experience, or
A little bit. He just does not strike me as a top guy or as somebody should be main eventing a pay-per-view. Maybe a like a smaller one, not a SummerSlam.
I see. Yeah, I was wondering about that too. I mean, it seems like he's more of a function of the story rather than a driving factor, because it's just the next logical step.
Right, like he fit more of like a villain of the month.
Yeah. Well, he's in there now, and that shows that they have a lot of faith. Shows that they have a lot of faith in him. They probably see things that, well, we don't see. But that's part of that is the WWE's fault, because prior to this is exactly where I'm getting at. Yes, Liz puts this comment up, which I'll read in a second. But I was the whole point I was about to build to is that, as far as the fans are concerned, who have been following this, storyline, this bloodline, blood story, blood, all this stuff for all these months and years, all they've seen Solo be is the guy that stands there and then loses to the guy that Roman Reigns is about to beat. Like, that's all. He's the guy that you fight on Friday Night SmackDown right before you fight Roman Reigns and lose. That's what Solo. He's the quality win that a contender gets, like right before Roman Reigns. So, in a way, that can feed into this idea of him being a fraud, but then it makes it seem like, and look, in the match he had a lot of help, so it's not like they didn't do it. They didn't at least somewhat address that fact. But
what if here's a comparison I just thought of. What if Solo Sikoa was kind of like the Goro to Roman Reigns' Shang Tsung?
Well, Goro was tougher, right? So you would be implying that Solo's tougher.
Well, I mean, Goro did have 4 arms, and Solo only has 2.
Oh, yeah. But he has a thumb, which is like a third arm. That's like that taped up thumb is a powerful thumb. But yeah, Liz says Solo lost way too many matches, which it's just that we've seen it. Yeah, there's your statistician for you. 39 matches, 9 wins, 29 losses, and 1 draw. And and they said Solo beat John Cena, who also hadn't won a match at that point in however many years, and they made sure to point that out too. But yeah, so that was one of Solo's 9 wins, was John Cena. But we're not. I don't know. I kind of see the point, but I think Solo's just right now just being carried by the fact that the whole storyline is that he's a fraud. I mean, that is the story. The story is that Solo is a fraud. That's why Roman Reigns comes back with new merch. That's like original tribal chief or whatever. Whatever the OTC stands for. It's basically him saying, Solo doesn't count. He's still the guy that's just 9-29, So it's not so much that I have a problem with that, but there's a lot of other things I have a problem with as far as that goes. I'm not going to turn this into the SummerSlam list of grievances. But
I want to thank you all for joining us for the SummerSlam Festivus episode.
that's right. The poll is slightly out of camera. We cannot see the poll right now, but we assure you it is there. Yeah. So I don't know. It was I enjoyed most of what there was in general, but it was a lot of, time padding, a bunch of pointless stuff, cringe stuff, letting Jelly Roll get in a ring, cringe.
Hey, Austin Theory jumped for him though.
Hey, all right, yeah. The guy that looks like an athlete jumped. Good. Of course he does. Why wouldn't he? Just so much wasted time. So if you tightened some of that shit up, you could have moved it along. Noah said that it had to be the length that it was. So that's kind of what I thought. But kind of everything else that's going on is related to SummerSlam. Like I said, nothing really monumental happened the rest of, the week. It's the biggest part of the summer. So there it was. So hopefully you guys at least got some enjoyment out of it. But
maybe if they had it in Pound Town, pal.
Yeah, I think a Pound Town SummerSlam. When are they going to host a 2-night SummerSlam? That should be good. We'll do Minneapolis. We'll do Minneapolis one year, and then we'll do Pound Town the next year.
There's kind of an obscure joke there, but are you sure Minneapolis isn't already Pound Town?
I'm not too sure, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I think what we're really trying to do is again, we're trying to stall and hem and haw and pussyfoot and beat around the bush and all of these other vaguely sexual references too. Just talking about this Impact episode, which keeping with the sexual theme, just the complete fuck over of Moose continuing. I don't really want to talk about it, but we're gonna have to talk about it. I'm looking.
Might as well change his name to Moose Knuckle, pal.
Yeah, it's goddamn. Yeah. I'm taking anything else we can stall with any longer before we have to talk about this absolute joke of a show that ended with an absolute joke. I am not looking forward to it. We gotta find out we gotta see if Clerks is streaming on something besides Apple TV. That's what we need.
Maybe Triple H got kind of cocky. He's like, "Hey Tony, you want to book SummerSlam? Here's a bag of Coke. Have fun."
Yeah. Oh man. Oh yeah, there was the whole, there was a whole Shane and AEW photo thing.
That's interesting. Honestly, I'm kind of leaning into the theories of Vince and Shane kind of being a little slighted of how Vince is being cut out of WWE and his contributions being like kind of, oh yeah.
God, why are people still trying to push that? You can't be pushed out of something you sold, bro. You sold it. Game over.
But I don't know. I can't believe Vince. When Vince made that deal and everything went down, I don't think he foresaw that coming.
I don't know that he didn't do it because he foresaw it coming. It's like you're gone whether you like it or not. You might as well get some out of it. May have been how they pitched it to him.
Yeah, I can see that being a possibility too. Again, we don't know. It's let me put the head of the button. Well, this is all speculation. We don't know.
Right. Yeah, it is all speculation, but we can make educated, wise speculations if you've been paying attention. I mean, since when has Shane and Vince had like a non-contentious relationship?
That's fair.
Why would Shane all of a sudden, like, why would he care? Like, he's probably looking at his father like, well, we reap what we sow. That's probably a lesson that he would have learned. It's probably something that he would have told. He would have told his son whenever his son didn't get what he wanted. You know?
Or what if Shane sees an opportunity of like, okay, screw you, Steph and Hunter, and screw you, Vince. I'm gonna do something better than all of you. Who knows?
Yeah. And it's just, I think it's just a matter of like, I think it's a matter, personally, I think it's just a matter of Shane saying, why not? I'll take a meeting. You could take a meeting. And I think it's a question of Tony doing exactly what you would expect him to do, which is like, what a flex to get a McMahon on my.
yeah. Tony's not going to say no to that.
Right. So, yeah, it's just the way wrestling fans think. They can only think in terms of like wrestling storylines. So of course this storyline has to be that Vince and Shane have some kind of secret plan to take over AEW. Of course that's what it would occur to somebody that's not using their brain or hasn't been paying attention. Yes, to somebody that only reads headlines, yes, that would sound like something that might happen.
To what Liz put up. I don't know. I don't know if she's referring to WWE, but I remember there was a thing that came out like when that sale went down, where there was like it was in writing. Vince cannot be removed unless these three conditions happened, and one of them was resignation.
Mm-hmm. Right, and you can force a resignation. Well, what just to clarify what Liz said, if he didn't, he is an absolute idiot. Meaning, if he didn't think that it was possible for him to get removed, then he is an absolute idiot, because at no time is a company sold and the buyer kept the original president CEO, so they take over and everyone gets canned. Yeah, even if you look only in wrestling, you just kind of look at how Ted Turner's out of all the operations way back when they merged with AOL and all that stuff. It was like, that was the death of WCW. This just so happened to be, it seems to be a thriving point for WWE. At least that's what is being presented to us, how well they're doing, and
right.
it visibly seems.
Yeah, if there's any comparison to WCW with what's going on with WWE at this time, it'd be more like when Jim Crockett sold to Turner.
Yeah, it's pretty much. So I mean, yeah, that's basically how it is. But there's no way. Besides all that, and Jimmy and I talked about this a little bit on the wreckage. We talked about this. We touched upon this. Sausage, Ditke.
26 heart attacks, Bob.
We talked about this a little bit, and I was just saying, so for anybody that thinks that they're gonna get AEW from Tony Khan, and I just asked the simple question. So wait, so Tony won't give up the pencil, but he'll give up the whole company? Get fucking real.
It's not again, for sale. We do not know what's going through Tony Khan's head. A guy with that amount of money, I could easily see being like, you know what? As long as I get to write the show, I don't care. But knowing Vince, he ain't going to allow that.
No. None of that. Vince had a wrestling company. He obviously didn't want it, so he got rid of it, and that was his. He doesn't care to buy somebody else's. I don't care how much people think he's spiteful or vindictive. He's got other things to worry about other than buying another wrestling company just to say he did it. It's not going to happen. And furthermore, Tony Khan is not going to sell it. If it was about money, then he wouldn't be sinking so much into this right now. He would be trying to save every penny that he could. He obviously doesn't care. He will spend money until there's no money left, and even then, after that, he'll find a way. This is what he wanted to do. It's a passion project. You're not, you only sell the passion project if you absolutely need the money for other things, like your family, which he doesn't have. And it's his dad's money anyway, and he already gave it to him. So it's not the same thing. People keep thinking that when they tell him, "Oh, Tony, you got to do this, you got to do that." He doesn't have to do a damn thing because he's not running this to try to make money in the sense that I need it to survive. I need to make money and turn a profit to keep the business going. No, I can operate this business at a loss and I can still bring in enough money to keep that going for a long, long time. And Vince McMahon cutting a check is not going to change anything that I've done. It's not going to change anything I'm going to do. So it's not going to happen. It's not for sale. That's basically what I'm trying to say here.
There's one area I agree with you on all of that, but I think there might be one area in Tony's personality that might get him to flip on that. I get to work with Vince McMahon.
Well, he's still, even if that was the case, he's still not going to sell it. And yes, Yosef, I've seen all your comments. I'm just not acknowledging them because I don't really need to. We're already covering this stuff. I know exactly what Russo said. I know that he thinks that there's some cartoonish plan to take over. That sounds like one of his storylines. It's not real life. Vince McMahon ain't getting this company. He doesn't. I don't think he even wants it. But even if he did, he ain't getting it. And Shane McMahon is not a mole. I just don't believe that.
And also, how much of that is him speculating for content?
Of course. Why wouldn't you? I mean, he says he knows these people, so he's got, as much right as anybody to say what he wants to, whether he really believes it, whether he's trying to drum up interest. That's what you would do. Of course you would say that. This is what I think. And then insert crazy thing here. That's basically most of the internet now. It's fine, but it's just not going to happen. That would be the most foolish thing. You would have, Tony's dad would have to force him to do that, and I don't think he's going to do it.
Again, the only thing I think that could override that is Tony Khan enough of a mark that it's Vince McMahon, so I don't care. That would be the only thing that would override that, in my opinion.
Yeah. But
as far as the odds of that happening, pretty slim.
Yeah, it's fantasy. It's fantasy booking. Is basically what it is. What if Vince McMahon buys another wrestler? You really think he gives a shit right now? This man is basically crippled and he's got impending lawsuits that are going to ruin the rest of his life and probably put him in the grave before they're done. And he's worried about AEW, really. He's worried about AEW from a guy that won't sell. He won't even give up booking duties. He won't share the responsibilities, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, get out of here. That's Mark bullshit. But speaking of Mark bullshit, I guess we got to talk about
Labrat. He's put up an interesting thing. What if they're doing something with where if Shane is kind of like maybe Tony Khan's connection into China? That's a good idea.
Maybe it is. Maybe it's a completely behind the scenes, just a deal of like, hey, do this thing. But yeah. Well, if they're gonna get a TV deal, I think Warner Brothers is just trying to play hardball, but they have no position. I mean, they're trying to flex on AEW like they're in some kind of position of power. They're not. They need content just as much as anybody else does, and AEW is going to be cheaper content for them. They tried to no sell the NBA, and now they're in trouble for that.
If I'm AEW, I'm passing on that. I'm like, oh, you thought NBA wasn't a big deal? You don't need them. All of a sudden, you're springing $1.8 billion for them. Okay, well, let's talk then.
Yeah. Then you got the fact that hey, did you guys know that you can now bundle Disney Plus and HBO Max? Hey, who owns HBO?
Warner Brothers Discovery.
Oh, but you can get it with Disney? Well, I thought both these companies were they're just doing so good.
What is it that GGP says? Follow the money?
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, the money's going down. So, right. Anyway, um that this it's fine. If you want to live in the real world, then join us here on the Impact Attack. If you want to live in Mark Fantasyland, then I don't know what to tell you. Not interested. Let's get to TNA and get this shit over with before I get really hot. Literally, because it's like 96 degrees and 7 p.m. at night over here. We got our ketchup. We definitely got our ketchup, right? And then we got we're still in Montreal. We still have the Rascals. They're still dressed like Buzz Lightyear. And they're facing off, for some reason they're facing off the team of Time Mustache Balls. I don't know. What is that? What is this random team of Kushida and Mustache Mountain?
Dude, I actually have a really obscure reference to call this trio. If you ever played like RPGs in the mid 90s, you will get this one. Lavos Mountain.
Lavos Mountain.
Chrono Trigger.
You'll have to explain it to me.
You ever play Chrono Trigger?
Yeah.
Remember how Lavos Mountain was a kind of like a area kind of trapped in time a little bit?
What part of the game was that?
That was like right after the Ocean Palace where Chrono died. And you basically have to go back in time to that period and then like replace him with a doll and then bring him back to basically kind of save him from killing himself.
Right. Okay. Well, I forgot the name of the mountain. But why
a fan theory for that is like Lavos Mountain is actually like the shell of Lavos.
Oh, I get it. You're saying I've always pronounced it Lavos my entire life.
Lavos,
so I didn't
yes.
even know what the hell you were talking about at first. Lavos Mountain. Yeah. So but yeah. So these guys are what? Is Kushida Chrono or like what is the reference?
Honestly, to make it make sense, like Kushida would have to be Chrono.
Right.
Well, or if you want to go for the trans route, he come out as Marl.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't know about that, but what I do know is that for some reason I just couldn't get over Wesley's trunks. They look like they look like a diaper. Like from the front, it looks like he's wearing like some Toy Story themed pull-ups.
He's a big kid now.
Yeah, well, he's not much bigger than a baby, so I don't know. But yeah, the Rascals end up going over. They beat Trent with the shove assault. I guess that's what we'll call it. That's what I'm calling it. It's where he does a standing moonsault and Wesley shoves him. So it's a shove assault.
I think it's called the Hot Fire Flame or something like that.
Yeah, I don't want to put that over. Is there anything you want to put over about this match?
I mean, not really. I mean, it's nice to see the Rascals back together, but this felt more like a house show match than a TV match.
Yeah. All right. Well, what about this Jordan Grace vignette?
Meh.
All right.
Open challenge for next week. Whoopee.
All right. If that's not to your liking, how about we got the campaign sing and Secret Service there with Gia and no music underneath. Singh gets a phone call from Ali and has to prove his credibility now. According to the phone call. He's not sure how he's going to do it.
Yeah, this kind of felt like AEW. Like, okay, we have these guys. We want to put Campaign Singh and Santana in a match. Okay, how do we get there? Well, let's do this.
Well, that's how they do it. Well, we don't know that yet, but
yeah, like when we get there, it's like, oh, okay, now there's okay.
All right. Oh, we got another match. Rosemary versus didn't even turn the lights on before announcing her name, Kristara. Like Rosemary's full entrance is still gone, and the announcer's like, and also already in the ring, Kristara from Montreal. So
this is the real Montreal screw job.
That's right. We have Ash and the concierge are watching on the monitor backstage. Kristara was more shocked than anyone that she got some offense in. She couldn't believe it. I don't know about you, but I hate that. I hate that. Like when you sell that you did something, like, I can't believe I, a professional in this business, was able to do something.
Right. Like you being like, oh yeah, a professional would be staying on that. And then eventually the star fights back and then beats you. Because that makes you look better and it makes them look better.
Right. Well, now they just beat well, now
she beat Rosemary... a fangirl like, oh wow, I actually did it.
Yeah. I didn't think I could do it, but I did it. Yeah, the whole like comical look from both sides. Like, can you guys believe I did it? Can you guys believe I hit her once? It's unbelievable.
Alex the Pug Porto was a better enhancement talent.
He was a better enhancement talent. So yeah. Well, I mean, maybe she lives in Mark's fantasy land and thinks that AEW is going to get sold to a McMahon, but instead she gets beat, and then Rosemary goes and gets her homeless person knapsack and gets a black rose out of it and puts it on her chest. Here you go. Rest in peace. Rest in peace, Kristara. We hardly knew you. Oh, Rosemary did come out, and I was just thinking, like, when I saw the backpack especially, I was like, homeless. A homeless person has wandered in. That's the look. She doesn't look like that as much when she's in the ring with her gear on and the lights are on, but just like walking with the hoodie and the backpack, it's like you're about to go into a convenience store and steal something. Oh, hey, there's a system promo now. There's music underneath, and even the losers are allowed to speak on this particular promo. It's not just Alicia with her championship. This is also the only moose we'll get. I mean, at least any direct moose. This is it.
Yeah, that was the really disappointing thing. Is that was the only moose we saw. Although when we get to punching up, there's a little bit more, though not a whole lot. They didn't give me a whole lot to work with, unfortunately.
No, they didn't. Moosey's very, very unconcerned that he's no longer the TNA champion.
Yeah, now that you point that out, that's the direction I would. If I'm rewriting it now, that's the direction I'm going. Like, why is Moose not going ape shit, just tearing people apart?
And if you really know what you're looking at, you could see the sort of like I'm not going to say we're not biased. We're definitely biased. We're definitely biased towards Moose here. But anybody with a discerning eye can look at just the way he's been booked, even as a champion. And you see these things, like you see these little things. Even having a 6-man match to be an elimination match, which it didn't need to be, now you don't even give him the out of not being pinned for his championship. You were eliminated. We already talked about it on the review. The worst position you could have been eliminated. Second. It's either first, last, or nothing at all, or you win. but they went with eliminated second. That's like a disrespect almost. That's almost it. This is like conspiratorially. This is like a writing on the wall. Like thanks for signing this long contract. We know you'll do whatever we say now, and we're going to put that into action. And we're going to job you, and we're going to make sure that the focus is where it needs to be, which is ex WWE guy or random Canadian that's been here for a long time, and not you. Even though there's plenty of moose in Canada.
Yeah, pal. Get me moose.
Give me moose. Not in this company. So Santana's trying to cut a promo. And then he gets interrupted.
I'll agree with elaborate with what he said. Alicia's, I said this too the other night too. Alicia's actually kind of grown into her role as kind of like the spokeswoman of the system.
I see. Should we elect her president of the system?
I mean, she's certainly a better candidate than some other women running for president.
Interesting. Well, speaking of campaigns, Santana is backstage trying to do his promo, and Campaign Singh comes in, and he thinks he's going to get his credibility by challenging Santana to a match. And Santana's like, to whoever's credit that produced this, or whether he came up with it himself, he's like, go ask Santino, which is exactly the response you should give.
Yeah, exactly. Like his character be like, I don't give a shit, but if Santino does it, all right, we'll fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's basically saying you're not worth my time, which he's not. Not nothing against the guy. I'm not talking about Raj Singh. I'm just talking about the storyline character of this lackey who was told over the phone that he needed to prove himself.
And at least they booked that match correctly.
Yeah. Yep.
As we'll get to later.
Hey, even though I hired you to be on my team, even though I didn't have to, prove yourself. Okay, Alexander's music hits, but he's not coming out. And he's right there by the curtain with Gia, and I guess no music underneath because they turned it off when they went back there. So he's like, he rambles on to say he doesn't owe anyone an explanation, and that he's done, and he walks away. So then Ryan Ziegler walks by, and Gia's like, good luck. And then we get Ryan versus Frankie Kazarian. Frankie Kazarian is forcibly announced as the king of TNA. Jade does air quotes while she says it, which I would, if I was Frankie Kazarian, I would make that a thing next time. It's like, I'm going to watch your hands and make sure you don't do air quotes. Just keep being a dick. And then we got some picture-in-picture commercials. And this time I actually wrote down the ads so that we got a sense of the kind of stuff that they're trying to sell you on Access TV. This is exciting. This is the most I perked up during this entire episode. Because even when the system came on, first of all, I assumed they weren't going to let Moose talk again. And then even when he did, he just said the most generic thing. So we got commercials. Some of these things, I don't know exactly what they are. I'm just going to read them. One of them is for Granger.
For the ones who get it done, pal.
Okay, Granger's there. Angie. Do we know?
Hey, man, you need your home taken care of. You get up with Angie. She'll tell you who you need to get with.
Yeah. The Calm app. Now, this one was pretty self-explanatory. If you had trouble sleeping, there's an app that you can get on Apple and Google Play.
I remember. Yeah, and I even said like, hey, one of the top 3 causes of loss of sleep is staring at your phone too long. So here's an app to help you.
That's right. Well, who's gonna fall for that, right? The kind of people that are watching Access TV live. We got an ad for Manscaped because they know that wrestling fans definitely need to cut their body hair down.
Get me the lawnmower, pal.
Yeah. 5. They're up to 5 now. Lawnmower 5.0. Who knows what the 6 will bring? Um, and then super beets. Super beets. You know how your parents always told you you had to eat your beets, and you didn't want to because they're gross. Well, now we got this powder or whatever that's going to give you all the nutritional the nutritional profile of a beet, but in a ground up powder form. And that's pretty much all we got on this break. So, like, what kind of a demo would you say that this is trying to target?
Hey, get your shit together, you fat, disgusting, smelly, unkempt bastard.
There you go. It's pretty good. At least it wasn't the Otis commercial. Oh, yes. You want to talk about cringe? Give me Jelly Roll rather than that Manscaped ad. But Manscaped was everywhere this weekend. Biggest party of the summer or Impact, whatever. It's there. They know, and they on every wrestling podcast that makes any money, they're on there. They know. Manscaped is trying.
My favorite Manscaped ads are the ones from Keep It 100.
Right. I mean, yeah, I'm a big fan of Conrad's reads of the Manscaped stuff, but any
hot bag
Manscaped
for your wiener.
Oh, that's Blue Chew, pal. But you
Well,
you
know,
definitely
but
want to, yeah, you definitely want to. I guess having a hard dick would make it easier to miss it if you're shaving down there. Like you can definitely get the hair because okay, well, I don't need this.
Hey, you know what though? Why not combine Blue Chew and Manscaped? Get you so hard a cat can't scratch it.
That's right, or a lawnmower. uh, get you so hard a lawnmower can't cut it. God, I wish we were monetized. I would love to do ad reads live. Because you better believe that this copy that they give you would just be bullet points for me, and I'm gonna fill in the rest. You can believe that. I miss
we'd
cutting
have fun
promos
with that
sometimes.
shit.
So, by the way, in case anybody remembers, this was a match, and then Kazarian hits the slingshot cutter on young Ryan. And then now, Josh walks out. And he stares at the ref, and the ref runs away. And then he hits the C4 on Ryan. And that's it. No security, no older brother, nothing. I'm just going to pile drive Ryan Ziegler and leave. Consequence free. So I don't have to do what I was scheduled to do. I can come out here, pile drive a guy, and not get in trouble. It must be nice to be Canadian in a Canadian-run company, man.
Yeah, pal. That Maple Leaf connection.
Ultimate X will emanate from Louisville, Kentucky, August 30th. Are we excited?
Yeah, pal.
Are we going to get an Al Snow appearance?
No, I think we might get somebody else who's in the Kentucky area who knows a lot of people in TNA, which please God, don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Speaking of don't do it, Masha Slamovich versus Jody Threat. This is a rematch from Bloodsport, where Masha Slamovich was able to get the win. And this is just a regular wrestling match that actually has ropes. And that's going to make it a lot tougher for Masha Slamovich because apparently she's forgotten how to win wrestling matches for the past year.
Let's forget that whole streak she went on when she first debuted and just plowed through people in 1 to 2 minutes. Let's forget all that.
Forget it. Who needs it? Long-term storytelling. We don't need that. So the finish comes when Lish tries to fasten the championship belt to the middle turnbuckle. And, suggests that Masha run her head into it, I guess. But it backfires because Jody Threat, gives her a drop toe hold and Masha hits her face. And then Threat hits the whatever her move is called. What is it called? Some sort of F6? Is that it's like some Toronto reference, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like their area code or something.
Um yeah, so that happened. Somebody come and save this woman. Come and save Masha from this company. Get her out of here. Like get her somewhere where what she does can be appreciated and useful. Hopefully maybe draw a couple of dollars.
Put her with the Facha brutes, pal.
Yeah, I don't know. It, he really has something here. They're letting everything slip away. Speaking of which, Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry package up next. This guy's as good as gone. It's basically like he works for WWE now and they let him work TNA. I think that's how he's getting 2 paychecks. Brilliant.
This partnership is basically like his NXT run. As soon as he signs to the WWE, he's going to the main roster immediately.
Right. Now,
and his signing with WWE is basically a foregone conclusion at this point.
Oh yeah, it's already done. It's basically done. Even the way they described that deal made it seem like he was being allowed to work at the place he works at. One of the things that Triple H said during the press conference was Hollywood Denise asked him actually a decent question for once, which is, what's the point of you doing, like, she didn't say it like that, but I'm saying it like that, like a cynical asshole. But she was basically like, what's the point of you working with TNA and what are you trying to do? And he's basically said, these people need more reps than we can give them here at the WWE. So we're trying to give them a place that they can go and get those experiences that they weren't able to have coming up during the territory times.
Right. And is TNA going to say no to more exposure and getting WWE contracted guys on their roster and basically getting more viewers on their show? No, they're not. It's a win-win all around.
Right. But that being said, we're just not really seeing that in any meaningful way. We got Wes Lee, who's I don't think this is a guy has been around. He came from TNA. I don't think the reps are the issue with him. So they give.
I think it's more kind of like to establish the connection and try to, build that bridge.
Right, but that's not what he said. I'm just going by what he said about we need to give our young talent more experience. And so what have we seen? We've seen Tatum Paxley and Izzy Dame. That's not, that's not really the same thing. And Charlie Dempsey and No Quarter Catch Crew. Like, there's a lot of people that need more experience than that. Instead, we got a local named Kristara. We could have put somebody in there with Rosemary that was in NXT that needed some reps, but nah. So I don't know.
I'll give both sides the benefit of the doubt. This is still early on. This is new. They're kind of feeling their way out. Now, 6 months from now, I'd be judging a little bit harsher.
All right. Well, let's keep that in mind. Your performance review is coming up in January. NXT and TNA relationship. So get ready.
Yeah, pal.
And then also get ready for Santana versus Campaign Singh. Campaign Singh's already in the ring. It's okay if you give him the jobber entrance. Anyway, after he wins with a clothesline in like 2 minutes or whatever it was. It's hard to tell because this was on 2x speed. So I don't know if it was 2 minutes, 4 minutes, 1 minute. I don't know. But it was quick, and he beat him with a clothesline, and then he called out Moose on the mic afterwards.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be the new program with Moose.
Yep. I wonder who's going to go over.
I'm going to guess Santana.
So am I. So they're going to try to give you a semblance of a real main event here. Is Mustafa Ali, who we haven't seen in person to this point, versus Dolph Ziggler, the champion. This is for the title. We get another ad break that's got all the same ads except for they have one for something called Bird Dogs. Anybody familiar with that? know what bird dogs is? I couldn't tell from the commercial, really.
Woof, woof, woof.
It might as well have been that. I really don't know what this thing is, but yeah, it was just the same other ads. They switched out Granger for bird dogs. Um. So yeah. Well, any thoughts on the match?
I mean, it was an all right match. I mean, but for TV, it's a little bit long. This has been fine as like, you know, a house show or maybe even a pay-per-view match or like a Clash of the Champions style match. But not for a, you know, you put on a show to kill time where you're on your TV that you're trying to sell, you know, people going to your live events and buying your pay-per-views.
Well, in
There's just
fairness,
too
it
much
was
time.
a TNA World Championship match, not just a time filler. It's a world championship. These are the top guys in the company, the champion and the obvious number one contender. It shouldn't go 15 minutes.
Hang on a second. Who's doing that, Liz? Chicken tenders and a hot dog bun.
Sounds like genius. Here I've been eating chicken tenders with a fork or my fingers this whole time, but you're saying I could have had it in a bun?
Well, I mean, we've been seeing these fast food places doing chicken tender wraps. So they take like one single chicken tender, put it in like a tortilla wrap with lettuce and a sauce.
Yes, $6. For the price of a whole bag of chicken tenders at the store, you could get one in a little tortilla.
Used to be lab rat.
Oh man, what did Lab Rat say?
A bird dog. Wow, I've never heard of that.
It is not called that. Bird dogs is.
Yeah, they used to have these. Although I think the Chicken Littles at KFC, they're more on Kaiser rolls, like a smaller Kaiser roll.
Yeah, that's right. Bird dogs is shorts and pants. They have built-in liners. So like, I don't know why that. I don't know why you need liners if you're not going swimming. Whatever. Listen, I'm not looking up anything for you Ohio Midwestern freaks out there who are just trying to do weird shit.
Oh, dude, bro, I'm looking it up right now. There's a whole there's tons of restaurants with like chicken tender dogs. Seen a lot of Nashville.
All I see is a bunch of hicks. But this is still more interesting than, say, this World Championship match on free TV. He said, Sonic said chicken strip on a hot dog bun. That's a chicken sub at White Castle. But anyway, yeah, besides that food, they're shorts and pants with liners inside. Bird dogs. Get your bird dogs. And you know, I'm sure you can eat bird dogs in your bird dogs. Like there's nothing stopping you. Good synergy
Eating
there.
bird dogs while wearing bird dogs while birds and dogs are around me.
Yeah, society requires that you wear pants and or shorts. So if you want to go outside where birds and dogs are and go and get a sandwich that's birds and dogs, even though it doesn't really make sense because, you know what, never mind. Let's not. Dolph wins with the danger zone. No shenanigans, no Secret Service, no campaign sing, no nothing. No out for Ali. He just lost.
You ever watch the show Parks and Recreation?
Sure.
Remember the character that the Ben Wyatt character, how he's like a 90s, like early 90s, late 80s nerd?
Mm-hmm.
And like even at his birthday party at the skate park, he like had to fall into the danger zone. How do you
Mm,
miss that? Like bringing that, like hit, like what was the actor's name? I keep forgetting. It was Adam something. Adam Scott.
yeah, Adam Scott.
Why not bring him in for something like that? I don't
Because
know. I'm
Dolph
just
Ziggler
spitballing here.
Dolph Ziggler hasn't seen anything past the early 1990s. The Danger
That's
Zone is
true.
clearly a reference to Kenny Loggins and nothing to do with Parks and Rec and any of that stuff. He only knows 80s references, even though, you know, like, I,
Well, I mean, his theme song is basically an '80s hair metal song.
right, right. He's like, I want something that's like Motley Crue, but just not that. And that's it. So Top Gun's probably his favorite movie, and he's like, I'll call it the Danger Zone.
Get me Maverick, pal.
Yeah, the Maverick. Oh, that's already Logan Paul's gimmick. So you could be the Wanted Man, which I don't know what that's a reference to. Bon Jovi, Dead or Alive? Like, I don't, whatever. I don't know. Maybe. Uh, or it's a double reference to him being like other companies wanting to bring him in now. Like, he's the wanted man. Uh, is it, or it's a reference to Renegade by Styx, perhaps? I don't know. I don't know. Well, furthermore, I don't care. The match is over, and then Josh Alexander walks out again, stares. Dolph sees him staring. Then he leaves. And I wish that was the end of the show. For me, that's the end of the show, but there was something else actually on this show. I debated, this would have been like, you couldn't have gotten me to want to disavow this whole thing more if the whole like wedding gazebo was built out of kendo sticks. Like, there's nothing that I want to talk about less than this. So, Brandon, I can turn the entire floor over to you if you have anything to say about what closed this show. I'm just going to pretend that I'm eating a bird dog in my bird dogs while you talk about this.
It was basically like your probably the most boring wrestling wedding we've ever seen, with the only real swerve being the return of Matt Cardona and him laying out PCO with the cinder block. That's about it.
The cinder block wrapped like a wedding present. I want to complain more, but then I'd have to talk about it. If you saw it, you saw it.
Yeah, you say what you want about wrestling weddings, but as far as they go, this one was like really tame, really boring, really safe. Just like it felt like there was more they could have went with it. Again, if you don't like wrestling weddings, if you hate the ridiculousness and the camp in wrestling, this is clearly not for you. But if it's one of those things where if they leaned into it and actually, okay, we accept how silly and ridiculous this is, and actually just push that direction, it could have been way more entertaining than what it was.
I mean, I guess. Like, Steph's vows were just a list of puns. It's just a bunch of puns. Bad puns. They're like popsicle stick jokes. Like, no creativity or effort went into any of this. Not that I wanted it to. I just wanted it not to happen at all. Put that creativity and effort towards something else on the show and quit fucking around with this, but nope, they did it. They did it. So, what's done is done. Matt Cardona, he arrived right at the perfect time. He shows up right during after the wedding is finished and they already do the kiss. That's when his music hits, and then he's like, "I can't believe this is happening." So what were you doing when you were sitting back there the whole time, like just watching this going on? Were you just wrapping up the cinder block? Like you got off the plane and you had to go get a cinder block from some scrapyard and break a chunk off, and then you had to go to Target and get some wrapping paper and then wrap your cinder block and then come in acting like you're trying to give them a wedding present, even though you waited until the wedding was over for your music to hit and all this other whatever. I'm already talking too much. Well,
Come on, Vet. Matt's always ready.
Well, apparently not. He could have showed up at the beginning. I mean, like, I get what they want to do. That it's the same thing they want to do with Roman Reigns. They're like, oh, when the music hits, everybody will pop. But you spend 5 seconds thinking about the whole thing, and it's like, this is just corny. Would it have been so bad if Matt Cardona arrived early on the show and acted like he was being supportive? And then he was just there, like, with the other people, like, you know, who else was that? A Rhino? Rhino was out there in full gear, oiled up with a tie on. Like, would it have been so bad if Matt Cardona was just there with Rhino, with holding the gift?
To be fair, if they revealed Matt Cardona earlier in the show, I think they might have telegraphed what was going to happen.
They did it anyway. Everybody knew it was going to happen. There's no way not to telegraph it. Why would you have a wrestling wedding unless somebody was going to turn on somebody and attack somebody? What'd you think he was going to do? Come out and give him a hug? At least if you spent the idea building up that, you know, like at least trying to get people to buy it, you would have had a chance. But no, we got the pop. Was it even that big of a pop? I don't remember. Was it worth it?
Like, this literally just came to me. What if they did a thing where Matt Cardona comes out, gives a legitimate gift to them, and while they're opening and unwrapping it, he pulls a crowbar from his jacket and then nails PCO from behind?
Yeah. Or a gimmicked action figure. You know, something. He hit him with one of those rubber LJN figures. That would have fucking killed him. That'll kill PCO. Hit him with a rubber LJN King Kong Bundy. That'll put him out. Guaranteed. That's better than a cinder block. Probably a little heavier, too. Concrete is like, it's porous, you know? Like, their air can get in there, so it's a little bit lighter than it feels like it could be. There ain't no air getting in a King Kong Bundy LJN, so I would use that as a weapon. Because you can grab the leg. You can grab the leg for extra swing leverage.
You ever seen air bubbles in a King Kong Bundy action figure? Nope. You seen them in concrete? Hell yeah.
Yeah. But what do we know? We're just some guys that do a podcast. So that being said, I will turn it over to you. You can now punch up this whole mess. I would punch this mess in the face, but you can punch it up. And let's see what we got.
I did kind of punch up the wedding a little bit. Although I wish you would have talked before I did that. I think that's why you and me would make a great creative team, because I could come up with something. I run it by you. You'd be like, okay, we need to fix this. I'm like, okay, I see where you're coming from. Let's do that.
I'm definitely not a sculptor. I am more of a sander / polisher. But you can, whatever you had in there, if anything that you had in there that had Matt Cardona attacking PCO in this wedding, you can just change that to a rubber LJN King Kong Bundy figure on the fly. I know you can do it. I have faith in you.
We'll do that on the fly. That wasn't the way I originally had, but we'll fix that.
Okay.
All right. So we open it up with our recap and catch-up packet, of course. Never forget that. And we go backstage to the parking lot and building entrance, where we see PCO arriving in the back of a meat wagon. Oh my God.
Oh my God. New guy's in the corner puking his guts out.
All because you want to save a few extra pennies. And then Steph DeLander and Zaya Brookside enter the building together. We go to the announce table, rundown card for tonight, talk about recent events, give their thoughts. Rascals versus Kushida, Trent Seven, Mike Bailey. Rascals music and entrance, Kushida music and entrance, Speedball Mountain music and entrance, condensed version of the match on the show. We go backstage, PCO, Steph DeLander, Zaya Brookside. PCO is unloaded from the meat wagon onto a gurney. Steph DeLander and Zaya Brookside enter a bridal locker room and tell the cameraman to leave. Go to our first commercial break. Backstage, Nick and Ryan Nemeth, they arrive at the building. And Kazarian and Josh Alexander are seen watching them arrive on backstage monitors. We go to the vignette with Jordan Grace, same one as on the show. Backstage with Gia and Campaign Singh, same thing we got on the show. Match number 2, Kristara versus Rosemary. Kristara already in the ring. Rosemary music and entrance, same as on the show. Pre-tape the system, same as on the show. We go to our second commercial break. Come back to the pre-tape of Mike Santana and Campaign Singh, same as on the show. In-ring with the in-ring stage promo with Josh Alexander, same as on the show. Match number 3, Ryan Nemeth versus Frankie Kazarian. Ryan Nemeth music and entrance. Frankie Kazarian music and entrance. Condensed version of the match on the show that ends with Nick Nemeth out with a chair to run off Frankie and Josh. Because his brother and he's in the building. Why wouldn't he do that?
Of course.
Backstage, Mustafa Ali. Ali is watching on a monitor and is pleased with what he sees while the announcers wonder what this means for the title match later. Commercial break 3. Backstage, Santino's office. Nick and Ryan Nemeth won a tag match with Josh Alexander and Frankie Kazarian, and Santino books it for next week. Backstage, PCO. The doctors start getting PCO dressed in his tuxedo. Match number 4, Masha Slamovich versus Jody Threat.
Wait, is PCO still dead when they're getting him dressed? Or did they already revive him? I forgot.
I kind of think of it as like a funeral home. Like he's getting dressed for like the funeral, but instead of a funeral, it's a wedding.
Okay, I got it. I just want to make sure. Because I never really understood. I guess PCO has an expiration date on his revivals, and like that's why he's always dead every time he shows up. Even though he could have been buried in the desert for a long time and no one was around to revive him, but he just got himself out and walked all the way back to Las Vegas. But again, we don't need to think about such things. So I just want to make sure he's immobile and laid out as they're putting the tuxedo on him.
All right, and then we go to match number 4, Masha Slamovich versus Jody Threat. Masha Slamovich, music and entrance with Alicia Edwards. Jody Threat, music and entrance with Danny Luna, same as on the show. Vignette, Joe Hendry, same as on the show. Match number 5, Mike Santana versus Campaign Singh, same as on the show. But after Santana's promo, we get Moose on the screen, and he challenges Santana to a match for next week. We go backstage to Steph DeLander's locker room. Someone knocks on the door. Zaya Brookside answers it. The person has a letter for Steph. Zaya takes it. Zaya reads the letter, visibly distraught, and she rips it up. You go to our first commercial break. You go to a vignette of Jonathan Gresham. Talks about Kushida stealing a sample of his ink, and he warns Kushida that he might have already become permanently infected. Then we go backstage with Gia and ABC. Gia interviews ABC about potential challengers. Broken Hardys enter the shot. Broken Matt says that he and Brother Nero have a match proposal if they'd like to talk with them and Santino. Broken Hardys and ABC leave the shot, which would eventually lead to a House Hardy's Rules cinematic match on the House Hardy compound. Then you go to match number 6, TNA World Heavyweight Championship, Nick Nemeth versus Mustafa Ali. Mustafa Ali, music and entrance. Nick Nemeth, music and entrance. Condensed version of match on the show. We go backstage to the parking lot. A limo pulls up, and the announcers wonder who it could be or if they could have anything to do with the letter for Steph that Zaya ripped up. 5th and final commercial break. New Japan hype video. Announce table go over card for next week's show and the current emergence card. Then we go to the PCO Steph DeLander wedding with a few changes with the stuff that we had, of course, talked about earlier. With some other changes. There's no Rhino. No Rhino at all. PCO has multiple groomsmen, including Lance Storm. And instead of Rhino for the best man, he has Jacques Rougeau. Yeah, pal. And then we get a short DMTV vignette on the screen of Sammy congratulating PCO and Steph. We get the first class interruption, and then it ends with, the Matt Cardona doing his thing, but with the changes we talked about. And then him and
Hung by the
first
LJN
class
figure.
stand tall over Steph, over PCO, and Lance Storm and Jacques Rougeau.
Well, it didn't end up being that much better, but hey, at least it's a little something. God, if I see one more House Hardy anything, I'm gonna have to. They're gonna have to revive me off a table with electricity. So I'm just gonna.
Colin Weiss song, pal.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of shorts, yeah, were those bird dogs?
Yeah, my apologies. I actually had my had the punching up on my main computer screen.
See. Well, like any true supervillain, Brandon has a multi-screen setup, and like any true heroes, we're gonna let you guys get out of here in a reasonable amount of time. So we'd like to thank you for joining us tonight for this lovely episode of Impact Attack about a horrible episode of Impact. And I guess if you like
3 out
what
of
we
10,
did,
pal.
yeah, if you like what we did, you can find us other places. Brandon, what are some of those places?
As always, you can find me on Twitter, or as the kids call it these days, the X, at LG Brandon Whoop. I'm also on twitch.tv/ LG Brandon Whoop Whoop. Still under construction. There's a lot more stuff I need to do to actually be ready to start streaming again than I was not planning on. But again, it will happen at some point. Not really sure when. But I'm also on Substack at HMG Brandon. And I think our schedule this week for the watch-alongs, we got Wednesday, the AEW watch-along after the A show. We got the Friday night SmackDown, and we got the Sunday night TNA Impact watch-along. Whoop, whoop.
All right. So there you go. That's where you can find me. As for me, you can find me at Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms. You can find me every Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, with Big Ray Hernandez for the Next Level Wrestling review. You can find me every Sunday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, with Jimmy T for The Wreckage, which is an AEW Collision review. You can find me watching Wrestling with Rogers every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, barring any time changes or health scares live on air. You can find me there watching those guys. So yeah, Friday mornings, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, 7 a.m. Hawaiian, whatever. Then you got you definitely going to want to check out Stevie Richards' show, which also drops on Fridays on YouTube, but a little bit earlier on audio. Anywhere that you listen to podcasts, you can get audio form. But because Stevie's doing so much work with his board visually, you just may want to check out that YouTube show. So give them a follow. And of course, he's still doing all the the fitness stuff. He's reviewing the boxing camp workout thing. I forget which exact version that he uses, but he really likes it, and he thinks you will too. So check out Steve Richards Fitness, and then also check out JTG's channel. He's got a YouTube channel now. He's putting out little bite-sized videos for you to bite-sized like a bird dog. You just watch this video, and it'll be just enough to get you, carry you over your appetite to your next meal. This week he was talking about his Mount Rushmore of tag teams. So go find out who he thinks belongs up there. And that's just about going to do it for all the plugs, I believe. So thank you again for joining us. For Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.